Are you looking to level up your business and or simply crack the code on how to shift from self-employed to CEO of your business? Wherever you are in your entrepreneurial journey, it's never too early or late to scale, level up, and shift up. Hi, I'm Kelley McNichol, host of the Shift podcast. I'm a business coach, consultant, online educator, brand strategist, and marketing expert. And I'm genuinely so glad you are here. On the Shift podcast, we will share the real talk behind what CEOs need to know and take action on to grow, scale, be and remain relevant and successful, and to help others of you shift from that self-employed grind to leaning into and holding that position as the CEO of your company. So let's dig in and start taking massive action. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode. On the show today, I have Carina Groombridge. She is a mindset and success coach who supports moms to start and scale their businesses so they can make more money, yay, and create a flexible schedule that works around their family life. Carina started her business with 3 kids under 3 years old and a full-time corporate job. Today, she's returning from maternity leave with baby number 4. She offers one-on-one tailored support to her clients that transforms the way they do business. She does this through working on managing their mind, aka mindset, because who you are showing up as matters. Together, she works with you to bring out the best, most unapologetic boss version of yourself. I love that.
Oh yeah.
Welcome,
That's
Carina.
who you want showing up.
That's right. That's right. Not, always the best boss version of yourself. So tell us a bit more about what you do, how you got into doing this kind of coaching. Maybe share with us a bit about like who some of your clients are like, and I don't mean specifically who they are, obviously you don't have to go into that, but just who they are that you work with, the kind of businesses that they do, the stuff that gets you super excited to do with them.
Yeah. Okay. So in a nutshell, I decided to go into business because I didn't love what I was doing. And I really wanted to be able to tell my kids, like, follow your dream, follow your passion, and you'll figure it out. Like, whatever it is, just follow that. And that will lead you to, whatever it is that life has in store for you. And I wasn't doing that. And I was sitting there going, well, I can't, like, I'm going to eat my words if I try to tell them to do that when I don't know how to do it for myself. So I figured it out. And I mean, fast forward several years and now I'm here chatting with you. I make my own schedule. I work with clients that I absolutely adore. I just got back from maternity leave with baby number 4 and maternity leave from my business, which is like still blows my mind. And I'm like over here living my best life. It's so much fun. And it just brings me such joy to be able to help other moms do the same. Whether that means they're starting out like I did, juggling a corporate job and growing their business, or maybe they're full-time in their business and like need to get grounded, need to like ditch the overwhelming feeling of managing a business and a family. And in a nutshell, like some of the clients that I work with, it doesn't matter what industry they're in. I have people in all different types of industries because what we work on is them, like is themselves, is their brain. And when we do that, they excel in their area, like in their own industry, because it's who you're showing up as. It's who you're being that really matters. And it's not, somebody can hand you a strategy and say, okay, do these things, but it doesn't work for everyone. And it doesn't work for everyone because you're not thinking the same way that the person who's giving you that strategy is. And so that's where I come in. That's where I help, because that makes such an impact on not just like the bottom line, like the numbers, the money in your business, which is amazing, but it's that balance of like, okay, how are you going to juggle it? How are you going to be mom and be a successful business owner without losing your shit, right? Because there's going to be hard days. There's going to be challenges. And I help my moms walk through that with grace. not always going to be easy, but that support and like figuring out how your brain's functioning and operating, and just kind of giving a different perspective, showing them, okay, what if we looked at it like this? What if we like, test the boundaries of like the rules that you've put in place for yourself? So, I mean, I can go on and on, but that, in a nutshell, that's kind of what I do and who I support.
Well, I think that that's great. I mean, like you said, not the same strategy works for everybody. I think sometimes people forget that that your role as a coach, our roles as coaches is really to figure out like what's the best thing for you and help you work towards that. And sometimes it's about asking questions, testing it out, coming back around again. And totally that piece you said about grace, I use that word all the time. I don't have 4, but I have 3. And, sometimes I sit there and find myself being kind of like almost like manic, like zero patience for myself, my anything. And I sit there and go like, let's like pull back here a little bit and reassess, like, what am I prioritizing? Why is that a priority? What's the timeline I'm giving myself? Is it necessary that it's on that timeline? Like, am I just putting undue pressure on myself? And so I probably should have been talking to you like last year in January when I was trying to really like get my head out of my own ass is basically what I need. I needed somebody to like, it was firmly planted up there, and I really needed somebody to help just like pop that out so that I could be more on top of
Remove it, keep it out. We're good.
Right. That's right. So, I mean, I definitely know that those are important things. And I know that lots of people, whether you're a mom or not, really, I mean, just life in general gets really crazy busy. And sometimes we just do these things to ourselves. And a lot of the times just shifting the question, like you said, we were talking before we were recording about how you have that questionnaire thing, and it's based on business, but I'm sure there's a lot of other things that you sit there and think about even on a personal level, right? But it's not, sometimes the question itself is actually part of the thing that's helping to hold you back, right? So if you reframe it, I was talking to somebody else the other day who does a bit of that, and she said, if you make your list of priorities, and then she's like, okay, well, if you decide, okay, I'm not going to do X, Y, Z, you write down like, so say it's self-care, you're like, if you write down instead even what that answer is, my health is not a priority, then you're like, whoa, how does that actually sit with me? Right.
Yeah.
So
it's a very different perspective than like, okay, list of priorities, business, family, and you realize you're not even on the list. So yeah.
Yeah. Or sometimes it's like how many things in the family or how many things in the business, like there's a gazillion things we can be doing. So how do you decide like which ones is important? Like, does my kid need to be in 10 different activities, or like, will my kids survive with 2? Right. Like, because that's like a reality, right? But some parents are just, they find themselves running around all over the place. And same thing in the business. Like, do I need to be doing all these different things, or is there a time and a place for it? So what's the next best thing for me to move the needle in my business, and also that feels the most in line with like myself, the time I have right now, the season of my life? Do you find that factors in a lot with your clients too? Just even accepting the season that they are in their life, not as an excuse, just understanding that the shift in the balance, or what the priorities should and shouldn't be based on the seasons that we're at in our lives or our business.
Absolutely. That's actually a conversation that I find comes up a lot with probably majority of my clients, because a lot of the times we make these rules of it should look like this and like these things need to happen, when in reality they actually don't. And you've just kind of like taken on that rule, taken on that idea from someone else. But like you said, the season of life that you're in is might not be working for you. And maybe that person that you're looking to, maybe their kids are older, maybe they don't have kids, maybe they're just in a different season, and you're like, but they're doing this, like they're posting 5 times a day, I need to do that. I'm like, whoa, hold on. Like, let's see what the rules are, and let's see what's actually going to serve you, and like take things off the plate rather than, as a mom, like just piling them on, which is usually what ends up happening. Just add to the list, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's a lot of like the guilt. And I want to say that moms do, but dads do it too. It's just in a different way, right? Like how they process and
Mhm.
their priorities. It just we process them differently. I fully understand that. Especially postpartum. I yeah, I was really mad at my husband for a lot of ridiculous things that I was like, I can't believe that's not a priority to you, you know? And I'm just like hormonal. It's really actually not a big deal. But at the time, it was pretty major in my household, like late at night things where I'm crying about random stuff. But I think we just tend to put a lot of pressure on ourselves in general, especially when we're in a shift of any kind, like personal or professional, where it's like you think, oh, to take on this new thing, you have to take it on in addition to all the other stuff we do. And we
Mhm.
sometimes forget to like, there's only so much that plate can handle, right? There's that glass can
Yep.
only get so full before, it's overflowing, and in a bad way, right? Like in a bad way. So how do we figure out, like, I guess that's what you do a lot, is to help people figure out what's the things we take off,
Mhm.
like, cool, you want to add
Or
that piece. What does that look like? So what do we, because some people think, oh, it's a trade-off. I have to give up. And it's like, no, that's a mindset shift, right? It's like, no, it's not a giving up. It's a shifting the focus or the priorities, I guess.
oh, exactly. And, see what maybe we wanna park for now versus take it on right now, and really just understanding what is your priority? Like, where do you want your focus and attention to be going? And is that actually reflected if somebody were to, be a fly on the wall in your day to day? Because I find sometimes there's a big disconnect there of, okay, these are my priorities. But when you actually look at somebody's schedule, it's not the same. It's not what they're telling themselves their priorities are.
Yeah. And then you kind of end up losing sight a little bit sometimes of like what your core values are, even because you're just trying to throw
Hmm.
on all of these things and not really thinking about, is that in line with me as a human, business person,
Hmm.
parent? um,
Yep.
yeah, I always like, more because I'm like I have a very analytical side to me, but I find, especially with business, one of the things that helped me out to like really get grounded and figure out how to do it was, I actually did a business plan, not because I was looking for funding, but I did a really in-depth business plan with all the market research and all those things. But it really did help me, especially in the beginning as a new entrepreneur. But still, it's a good touch point, right? Because the values, even from that business I did a decade ago, they're still important to me, as a human and as
Mm.
a business person and what I do now. It was just good for me to even have that touch point. So sometimes just actually creating a blueprint and a checklist. Um, if I think back to when my late husband was military, and they'd get postings would come up, or options, and I'd be like, this is like, we had like a checklist of 3 things. If it ticks any one of these 3 boxes, like, you don't even need to come home and have a conversation. Like, we're going for it, right? Like, you can do that. And I think
Ah,
that's
cool.
important for us to figure out for ourselves in our own lives. And we forget to, I think, especially as we're busy with work and kids, like, you forget to sit there and touch and think back, like, oh, especially if it's a nice shiny thing, you're like, I want to go do that thing, but you're like, is now the time? Does it make sense? What should I shift to make it happen or make more sense? Or is it something, like you said, we park for now and revisit later? Like, I know for you, um, a group coaching program is in the future and probably not too distant, but is it immediate thing that you're focusing on right now? No, right? But that's a choice you have to make for
Not
yourself.
at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that lots of people like the group things. There's lots of benefits to it. So I think all of us end up shifting into being able to do that at some point as coaches, for sure.
Yeah.
So what you and I were talking before we started recording about, some, like, where you're at in your business right now, and thinking about how do you help yourself, like, keep this kind of pipeline, steady and full, and shift into more of a wait list position, than necessarily, or even giving people the option, right? Because I'm sure there's lots of people who might be interested, but you only have so many spaces. So what does the wait
Hmm.
list look like? How do you nurture that? How do you invite people to come in and know that it's possible? Because I know a lot of the times the misconception too is because they see that we're busy and we're out there, they think maybe we're just like, they don't even ask, right? They don't even ask if we're available. They just assume we're busy, which is really nice. It's really nice. But is that consistent year round? Right. And so you and I were talking about what are ways that we can do that within our businesses to make sure it is consistent. And I think it's also a good piece too, because it does let you see as well a natural time to shift into that group piece. You're like, because you want to serve, we want to serve the people who come to us, right? Like people who come to us, they're drawn to
Mm-hmm.
us for a reason. So we want to try to serve all those people. It's part of why we're coaches, we're helpers, it's our instinct. Um, so having that wait list option for people is really a great thing. So you and I were touching a little bit on how are ways that you do that, because you do a lot of similar things to what I do. As far as like how we get clients, I love connecting with people one-on-one. I think most coaches do. So we do a lot of networking, both online and offline in person. And it does bring in like a consistent enough amount of people, but is it really helping us to be growing and at a scalable point, the same kind of scalable point we'd hope to? Is there consistency in that? Not always. So how do we bolster and fill up these pipelines for ourselves? And so I had asked you, but I didn't close the loop and ask you if this was something that you might be interested in, about doing a mailing list where you kind of have an email campaign going out, which basically keeps you connected with those people on your mailing list. It's a way to grow the mailing list, and also a way to make sure that those pipelines are filled. So is that something that resonates or makes sense to you? Because it's something that I think is a good piece. There's lots of other strategies, but that doesn't necessarily take a lot of time. Like it's an automated piece, which I know you love scaling. So how does that sit with you?
I think it's really amazing to have something that's kind of working for you when you're not necessarily working. And I know for me, I've set myself up, like I have a mailing list. I mail them every week with a bunch of value and just kind of giving them tools and strategies to grow their business. And yeah, I just feel like this is a really fun topic to dive into because like you want it working for you. And for me, like I'm kind of setting up all my things to make my life as easy as possible. Like doing reels or videos with my baby around because this is my reality right now. So I definitely I feel like diving into that piece would definitely be super helpful for me and for everyone listening too.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you already consistently email them. Lots of people don't. Like I don't necessarily consistently email the people on my email list. I should, and I will. So I'll follow your lead on that. But in saying that, so you and I touched on about lead magnets, and let me also just touch about the thing you said, because you said, I have one, but it's old. And I was like, well, old to who? Like old to you?
Yeah.
Or because if they haven't had it yet, it's brand new to them.
Yeah. Yeah. You totally called me on that, which I think is funny because in my brain, I'm like, oh, but I did that so long ago. And I'm like, wait a second. It's still super valuable. If this is the information you need, yes, take it. It's still valid no matter like when I did it.
Yeah, and that's what they call like an evergreen, right? So it's something that you have that you can, it's evergreen because it's evergreen. It's always valid information. It's always helpful to people. So what would be a good thing? And because you're doing consistently, you're doing your reels, all of those things, this is an opportunity to take that piece. And so why don't you tell us a bit more about it? Because I asked you some questions, but if you can explain, because obviously too, because you have it, I'm sure this is one of the things that you've probably shared me a link for that'll be in the show notes. So if anybody does want this, so tell us about this list, explain it to us a little bit in depth, so we know what it's about.
So one of the ways that I have to go and support my audience and bring people to my mailing list to come like hang out in my bubble is this list of 50 questions that you can go and ask yourself to grow your business. And why I created this is because I find the default language that you use when you're talking to yourself about growing your business is not always very helpful. So if you're saying things like, where are all my clients? Why is it so hard to find clients? I don't know what to talk about. Like, imagine putting this into Google and seeing the responses that come up. And basically, when you tell it to your brain, there's not very helpful answers that come from that. And so why I created this resource is because when we ask better questions, we get better answers. So when you ask yourself more powerful, more directed questions, then it really opens up your brain to seeing and viewing your business in a new way. So for example, if you were to ask yourself, what is one thing that I can teach someone today? What would my audience really benefit from? Or how can I add value today? Like, different questions like that make your brain show up in a different way, and it gives a difference. Like, you're going to come up with different, better answers because you're asking better questions. So basically, in a nutshell, like, this is just a list of really powerful, amazing questions to help you grow your business, to help you like trigger those different thought processes that maybe you're not necessarily thinking of on your own.
Yeah. So they're like, just like high value questions. And just in case nobody was noticing or paying attention, this was some mind work and mindset pieces that she's doing in that. So this is like the mindset piece that she offers to her clients in the one-on-ones. You get this through just like the free questionnaire thing that she has. So I think that that's super valuable, because even the best of us who think like we have our mindset stuff like pretty well figured out, we all have like days where we're like, oh, I just can't see the forest through the trees, or I'm not feeling creative, or whatever it is. So I think at any stage of your business, it's a good touch point, something you just kind of keep like near your desk, or like tucked under the blotter on your desk if you have one. I know that sounds so old school. Pinned to the, I don't know, does anybody pin anything to corkboards anymore? But I think it's like,
I totally do.
Do
I
you?
totally do.
Okay, good.
I do.
I hide mine. Like if you're in like, if we're on a call in my office, which we're not, we're in the kitchen, but we're in my office, like mine is tucked away, like out of view of the camera. Cause I'm like, maybe it's too old school. I'm like, don't look at my other computer screen, cause that's the one that has like the 50 Post-it notes on it.
Yeah. Yep. You're
But
human. Yeah.
But that's where those pieces come in too, right? Like some of like the really good jewel ones and nuggets to like crunch down on and be like, oh my gosh, like this is the loop I get myself into, is like in these particular things. So obviously not all of the 50 questions are meant for everybody. They're just meant that hopefully there's, even if there's one or two, right? Like it's super helpful. So,
well, and it's designed like it can serve you at every level too. Like broad questions like, where is your growth here? Like, you know, if you have a shitty day, a shitty week, like ask yourself, where is your growth here? How can you learn from this? How can you grow? So, I mean, really, you can take them and like tweak it to where you're at today. So, yes.
yeah. And even as a goal-oriented person, I can't remember the name of the person that I talked to, but a podcast that I do listen to pretty religiously is Ed Milet. And I love his guests. He's really a great interviewer. And it's the wife of the guy who's one of the founders of Quest. Anyways, she was even saying, I don't know. Do you know her name? I can't remember her name.
Lisa.
Yes.
I think it's Lisa.
Yeah. Did you listen to it?
Not that specific one, but I like the pair of them.
Yeah. So she's like super goal oriented, and she puts everything into the mind frame, because she's super goal oriented, is like when she's making decisions and all kinds of things, is this going to take me towards my goal? Right. And if it is, so even because she was talking about in the context of like doing hard shit, like doing stuff that you're not comfortable with. So whether it's public speaking, whatever it is, and you're like, is this going to get me closer to my goal? Like if I don't do this, you know, what's the alternative? And so because of that, she's like driven. She's like, well, it will. So I'm going to suck it up. I'm going to put on my big girl pants and I'm going to hop out on that stage or do whatever the thing is. So you're right. Like at any stage in our business, it's super helpful to be able to have those mind shift pieces. So I think that that's a super valuable kind of freebie or lead magnet, I guess is what people would call it. I don't really like the term, but it's essentially what it is. So you're going to add value to people and they can just take it and be done with it. And then also get onto your mailing list where you're providing more insights, more advice on a weekly basis. So good for you. And then once you've created your mailing list, you are messaging them. So that is a great way to, number one, however you're engaging in groups, you can always throw out that lead magnet for people to hop onto, grab it, you get them onto the mailing list. And of course, anybody can opt out of our mailing list, right? So it's not like the minute they get on, they're trapped. It's not Hotel California. You can come, but you can never leave,
You
right?
can leave.
So, so people can opt out. But then what that does is, they're getting to know you even more that way. And I know a lot of the times people are actually disappointed to not be told when we have openings, right, in our slots to take on new clients, or when we have new things coming out. So a lot of people feel it's a bit gross and pushy, but I think if we are doing it from an authentic way, and you're really just doing it to share the information. I know you're the unapologetic, so maybe you need to shift my mindset on it, but I'm always like, if it's not what you want, don't worry, man. I'm just putting it out there for you. It's kind of how I always
Oh yeah, no, we should totally talk about that because yeah, no. It's like, you will love this.
right.
If you don't want it, that's cool. But you will freaking love this because I made it for you. Right?
That's right.
Like that's a totally different vibe than like, you can have it if you want.
I know. I'm
Like,
just
no, they're following you. They want it.
yeah, I go from like the nice, Lady Mo to, because I'm very passionate about stuff. So it's like when somebody's in, I'm like, oh, okay, but it's adding value that way. And then from there, so this is a way because we want to identify a way because you're a busy mom and we're all busy in our lives. And whether or not you have kids, why would you do something that takes a lot more time and effort when you can kind of do it this other way that's kind of happening for you in the background? Then you have more time for whatever it is. Get a manicure, get a haircut, go fishing, whatever it is you like to do, or do other things in your business. So by doing that, and then if you take that email list and you can create either an email campaign, which I'm working right now with a great copywriter, and she's doing one for me. She writes with heart, so I love it. And then you can kind of nurture them down into that spot. So as they stick with you along the way on those pieces, you're kind of pre-qualifying them and they're pre-qualifying themselves, right? They're seeing as they go through the journey with you, if they're still interested and want to know more, they will. And there's a whole thing of sequencing to the email. So like, what is the purpose of each email you send out, how you're bringing them down there. And then as you get later on into them, depending on how long you do your sequence, there's the call to actions. And so your first call to action could be, if they're brand new to your mailing list, it's the call to action is to actually like open up and look at that questionnaire, like the list of questions for them. And then you could talk more about it. And so these are ways that if you set them up into a CRM, which I know you and I have talked about, you don't really have one yet. There's a bunch of different ones out there. And so I would not call myself an expert on them. I mentioned to you, I'm using FG Funnels, not for funnels. I don't have one, but as my CRM. And what happens is you can put your questionnaires and form, like you can run your whole mailing list through it. And you can actually, once they come in and click on that link, then it sets them up with these tags and you can set up a sequence and things. So there's two beauties to it. Is number one, you're getting the person's information and then you don't have to manually kind of feed through everybody. They're kind of already categorized and all those things. And then you can send them either straight away onto that email campaign or journey, or even into another place, right? So if they're not interested in it, you can look in your CRM and see that you've contacted them, I don't know, this much time ago, and all of those things. So the CRM is super helpful to me. Because then I don't actually have to manually go in or even pay somebody to go in and be like, go through all contacts and see who we haven't touched base with in a while, like see who hasn't interacted in a while, or any of those pieces. You can literally sit there and go, okay, let's email people out, or these are people who have expressed interest. Or if you're inviting them to come on and be part of your wait list, then that's another link that they click onto. And then you can lead them to kind of your get to know you questionnaire where you're asking about them and their business, what point they're at, identifying in the language pieces, like what's the price point that they should be considering to be working with you, right? Before they even get a chance to maybe schedule a discovery call, you're both learning about each other and seeing that it's a good fit along the way. So that's where I see the CRMs are helpful with whichever one you choose. Like I said, there's a lot out there, and nurturing that email list because they're already there. They're obviously interested. They signed up to hear from you. So why not use that platform to let them know, you know, what's available? I know you said you had one spot left to fill.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many clients do you usually like to work with at a time, if you don't mind my asking?
Yeah. So, well, right now it's scaled down because I have my baby with me and I want to be spending lots of time with her. So at the moment, my max is 9 clients. And then once she gets a little bigger and back into daycare, then I can ramp that up again.
Yeah, that's great. And so, and that's what people want to know too, right? Because they don't know how many clients that you have, how many spaces you have available. And, you know, you're unapologetic. So that I think to me makes the most sense. And again, when you're showing up already in your, even in your Facebook group, right? That could be like a pinned posting that invites people to come in and do that. Same thing on your Facebook page, like your personal one and your IG, right? You can pin specific things where they can always have access to that. So anytime they're new or looking, and then from time to time, you just post about it and say, by the way, I got this thing out there, because there's definitely seasons to the year and seasons where we're thinking about trying to ramp up or down. And that's a good way to bring people in. How do
Yeah,
you,
it's funny because I have I have those tools, and like as we're talking, I'm like, oh wait, I haven't actually written a post to be like, here's some awesome stuff. Go, like, if you want it, go get it. So it's funny, like that's like triggering for me, like, oh yeah, I should do that. Be a good idea.
yeah, well, they absolutely say we should be posting our freebies, like have links to it, like in our bios and all of our social
Mm.
media and stuff. Um, so but it is a great way to do it because again, people are only going to click on it if they want it. So that's
Mhm.
part of, some people obviously click on the free things because they just want to check out the free thing. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I do it for research purposes. Like I love knowing what's out there. So, you know, I love learning about other people and their businesses. So I'm often like, yeah, give me your freebie, man. And then I love hearing their emails. And if ever I find it's not relevant to me or I'm no longer interested, I just say no. Or just because they don't want to schedule with you now doesn't mean they won't want to in the future. So
Mhm.
nurturing, I think your mailing list is a really helpful and powerful way to do that in the background without necessarily taking away time from other pieces, to make sure that you're kind of filling up that pipeline and you have that in there so that there is people waiting to kind of trickle in as you're ready.
Very true. And obviously, like, I know for me, in working with my clients, like, even when I'm full, like, I'm going to keep marketing, going to keep showing up because, like, you said, keep the pipeline going because obviously, once clients drop off, like, you want to be able to keep your momentum, like, stay fully booked versus the kind of more cyclical, like, oh, I need clients now, I should show up online. Like, no, like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
You
because
can keep going and make it like as simple as possible versus, adding on things and making it complicated.
yeah, and actually, I mean, not that I'm super techie person at all, but what I do know about marketing in the online space is the consistency is important for the algorithm to keep recognizing you. So what happens is when you just kind of drop off like that, it
Mm.
affects how you're going to show up in feeds and things like that, just naturally, like even within like your own followers, you know, and friends on these things. And then the other thing is too, I think you'll agree, as coaches, we always want to be helping people. It's not necessarily our clients. Like we don't do
Mhm.
this just to get the paying clients. You know, I think we're always offering insights and help tidbits wherever we can. So I think that's an important piece to keep doing, just even for our own selves, to know that we're helping the people who, you know, whether we don't have space for them or they don't, it's not the right time for them, whatever it is, to still be
Mhm.
adding kind of value and support. So what do you think about that? Because I know you don't have a CRM. So how do you think you would
Well,
manage that in like with what you have right now? So I'm not trying to encourage you to buy more software or do anything like that.
so I guess a question that I have for you is because I use MailChimp as an email provider. So I'm just curious how is the CRM different from just, having MailChimp and having the tag, like basically leveraging that system? Because like in my brain, I'm not sure, I'm not seeing how they're super different.
Yeah, and that's what you can tell me about because I've actually never used MailChimp, so I don't know enough about it. And MailChimp may
Okay.
be exactly the place where you can do all of that. Um, are you able to kind of label people or put tags on them so that like if you can do a search and you can be like, okay, all the people who signed up for the freebie in this date or just whatever it is, even if they're past clients, and you want to let them know about new products, are you able to kind of put them into categories or put tags on multiple tags so then you can kind of search for them specifically if they fall into like, this category or have these tags associated with them?
Um, so I have that in MailChimp, and I don't profess to be an expert in it at all. I've delegated out some of that, like, how do you do this? I've outsourced that. But I am kind of able to see, okay, these are the people I've gotten on the phone with, these are the people who have opted into this freebie or this thing. So I do kind of have that visibility on it.
Does it let you know? I'm assuming it does. I feel like I've had this conversation with other people before, but I know an important thing is number one, like knowing, well, obviously ones that didn't get delivered, so you can take it off the list. Do you get to see, I'm assuming you get to see your open rate?
Yeah.
Do you get to see the click rate? So if you send them a link in the thing, do you get to see the click rate? Like how many people opened up the thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So those are the like top really key information pieces you want to know. Um, And then are you able to set up triggers? So meaning like if you were to do a series of emails, right? So if you're about to say launch a new product or like in about, I don't know, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you're going to have more space open. So you could take on another client, 2, 3, whatever that number is. Do you
Mhm.
have, are you able to set up a sequence where it's like, okay, I'm going to send this. And then 2 days later, it's going to send this one. And then another day after that, like, are you able to set up triggers so that it automatically sends, or do you have to manually go in and do that?
I know it's possible to set them up. I don't know exactly how, but I know like there is an option to say, okay, send this and then 2 days later send this. And like, I know that is an option. Although, to be honest, like usually I outsource it when I'm like, okay, I want it to do this. Like, I want MailChimp to do this for me. Like, someone tell me how to do that because I could figure it out. I really don't want to.
Yeah, I'm the same way with like a lot of things. I'm like, if there's anybody on my team who can help me, and if not, I go to the Facebook group page. I'm like, so I'm not
Yeah.
really quite sure how to, um, okay, so you can do all the things. And even if it was manual, it's still just a manual thing. And then you just click all the names on the list and you send it out. Right.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's not a reason to like shift and like start paying for this whole other thing. As long as you can identify pieces. And then obviously you'd want to lead them if they're interested into a questionnaire, I'm guessing, right? So that would be how you would do it is no matter where you're at and how you do the campaign, it could be one that's straight up, like as soon as they say yes to the freebie, so to this 50 questions to grow your business, then you can send them on this, then you can send them through like an email sequence. And or you can just actually integrate into when you're weekly sending out, when we're trying to fill spots, what we want to do when we're trying to do a launch, there's a sequence which you can look up online and find the best one for you. Some of them I find are too rapid, like succession. Some of them are a little bit too far apart. So it's kind of up to you to decide. But basically, you want to think about it's like a whole story, right? So
Mhm.
you kind of start off with, why they took the list, what it's going to help them with, right? So if we use this 50 questions to grow your business as an example, like what's great about it, how they're going to use it, those kinds of things. And then you move into on your next one about, if you haven't done it yet, or if it's raising questions or you're identifying these things, just know I'm always here to help you out. And you can move into an area of telling the story about like how you got into what you're doing and why you developed that questionnaire piece and why you find it's helpful and useful for them. And then you just keep taking them down through the journey. Again, as many sequences as you want, but essentially offering them that if they want to work with you, and you can change up the wording a little bit too, right? Like if you know you have in 30 days, like 2 spots opening up, it's like, I have 2 spots open like now, or they're going to become available in the next 3 weeks. If you'd like to sign
Mhm.
up, and apply to work with me, this is what you do, like click the link here and they do that. Or if it's the other way around where it's just, you know, letting them know that they can apply too, right? So not necessarily saying you have spaces available, but not saying you don't. It's still an application to
Mhm.
work with you. And then that same sequence happens where it's like, if it's too, if your schedule is too full and you don't have time right now, you could possibly even take them and be like, okay, this sounds really great. I'd love to get on a discovery call with you. Or we're full up a bit right now, but I'm going to keep you on the list and let's touch base, like say next month when I know we're about a month out from opening up. So you can use that list to do that and constantly keep nurturing the groups that are in there and have a consistent flow in there. So if you set it up as this like kind of trigger, so whether it's a note to yourself to like, okay, on this date, right, I'm going to do this thing. Or if MailChimp can give you a list, like these are all the people who did this. I would say without being able to schedule it on the thing where it's a natural sequence, I would want to do that because otherwise then you might be potentially, you have thousands of people, right? If you got like 100 new people signing on that week, but at different times, like how do you
True.
take them through that sequence, even if it's even if it's already set up and you're not writing the email anew, creating that system so you're not spending a lot of time just doing just that, right? So that essentially the system sets it up. And again, probably MailChimp helps you do this, but if not, try to find, maybe there's like an add-on or a piece you can add to it that does help you do that. Because this way it's just automatically done. And then what happens is once they get to that point where they're like super interested, you guys have covered all these things together and they feel really certain that they want to work with you, then you're only getting that piece of information at that time. You're not getting, oh my God, 50 people signed up for it and I've got to respond to all these people.
Mm.
That's
Yeah,
not
no, not happening.
not happening because not all 50 of those people necessarily want to work with you or
Yep,
are ready to
very
do
true.
the work that you do, right?
Yep, that is definitely a valid piece to it.
Yeah, so that is a way to that I think would be sort of simple. And again, anytime we're implementing anything new, there is like a learning curve and there's the setup time, the back end. But once you have that in there, just like that questionnaire, the 50 questions to ask yourself piece, it's good that it's old. It's there. It's established. It's evergreen. And so would this
Mhm.
method be. It's always evergreen. And you can choose to turn it on and off anytime you want based on how busy you are or look to be.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and I feel like it's something that I have not really been leveraging. So, like you said, take the time to do it now, and it's something that can just keep working for you in the future.
Yeah. And then same thing too in your social media. Are you posting when you have openings on your social media?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I assumed you were, but it's worth asking because I'm like, I didn't really think about that. Like, you should just wait till they come to my website and see that I have space. I'm like, let them know. Let them
I don't
know.
know. I remind them all the time.
That's good. Yeah. But then this way, because then potentially too, right? Like, if ever you pass off some of those social media pieces, do you do it all yourself?
So I write my own content, and then I have a VA who helps me put it in all the places because that part I don't like.
I'm in the same boat. I totally agree with you on that. Yeah, so that's great. So I think that that's like a great way to nurture that. And then and if you keep putting out that offer into your social media, like every so often, and even I'm sure you're part of a lot of groups like I am, there's lots of opportunities for us to share those things, whether it's in replying
Yeah.
to somebody's post or times where they're like, hey, it's, whatever Tuesday, time to share your links. You can share that and you're constantly growing it and getting new people into the mix. And so you're constantly kind of being able to add to it, grow it, and then you're providing value through your weekly stuff and then also letting them know when you have new stuff coming up, whether it's new spots or new products or services. Because obviously if they're there and they're sticking there, it's because they like what you're saying.
Yep. It's a very
Yeah.
good indicator.
Yeah. So don't apologize about, like you said to me, you're going, if you want
Exactly. You
it.
either want what I got or you can leave. And either are fine with me. Because, if they leave, that's cool. You're not my people, no problem.
Yeah, if you have a VA, I mean, your VA is probably can help you maybe figure out some of those pieces too, and just make sure and keep an
Yes.
eye on it. I'm a big proponent of like delegating whatever I can so that number one, I like keeping other people busy. And
Yep.
I'm sure there's much better things like feeding babies and spending time smelling. Did you post the other day about the baby smell?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Baby smell is like crack. It's just a fact. And I'm sitting there like smelling my child. Like, oh my God, can do this all day.
Yeah, people are like, oh, could I bring the baby? I'm like, please bring the baby. And if you bring the baby, because my baby is 8, I'm like, I will hold that baby. I will walk that baby in
Yeah.
our calls. I'll just sniff that baby all day long.
Like, run to baby. You want one? Come over. Like, I got one.
Okay, so I hope that was helpful in trying to like help you come up with strategies on how you're going to kind of create something that kind of helps keep the pipelines like filled and filling continuously.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Do you have any other questions about it or anything that you want to ask me about it?
No, I can't think of anything right now.
Okay.
I think I'm good.
And if you're not a good writer and you want somebody to help you figure out like the sequence of that, I can definitely refer you to a few people that are just good writers and really understand that sequencing piece and really get into like your head and your business. So they're not just writing stuff to write it. It's not a template. It's not, because I don't like those things.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
Although
I've
it's not
actually
to say,
improved my writing skills, but I mean, the professionals are professionals for a reason. So yeah.
yeah. And it's not to say that you couldn't just write your own. I'm just saying like, I always I don't like to give the toy without the batteries. So it's like, if you need like an extra battery for this like toy that I just handed you, like, let me know.
Well put.
Yeah. Oh, well, awesome. I thank you so much for coming on today, Carina. And I know that you'll be on again soon as well. So we will be seeing you again. However, for anybody who does want to get a hold of you, she has 2 spots available right now. How can everybody get a hold of you? I'm assuming, are you going to share with us the link that I can put in the show notes as well for the 50
Yes.
questions? Okay.
Yes.
So let us know how to get a hold of you.
Yeah. So I like to hang out on Instagram and Facebook, and I have a Facebook group. Facebook group is the Mompreneur Movement. So if you're a mama in business or want to start a business, definitely head over there. And on Instagram and Facebook, I am at Carina Groombridge Coaching. So any of those places, come find me, come hang out. My nice little happy bubble.
Awesome. I'm pretty sure I'm part of your group too. So
I believe so.
yeah. Oh, well, thank you again for coming on, and I wish you a fantastic rest of your day. Hey, thank you for listening to The Shift with myself, Kelley McNichol. I would love it if you could go to your favorite podcast app or the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and leave us a review. Your feedback is always valuable, and it'll help us reach more people and make an impact. So we'll see you back here next week. And remember, you don't always have to know exactly where you're going, but if you get up and show up every day in whatever way you can, and you do it with an open mind and heart, rooted in your values, mission, and with intention, then you will always find yourself exactly where you're supposed to be. I promise.